This episode contains descriptions of violence and may not be appropriate for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised. This podcast is investigative in nature. The theories and opinions expressed herein belong to the speaking parties and do not necessarily coincide with those of the series producers. Also, we are so grateful that our listeners are interacting with the show in the form of comments and posts on social media. However, we would remind you that this is a true story, and the friends and family of the victim may be reading your posts. Please be respectful of their loss and of their privacy.
Previously on The Girl with the Same Name. In the early hours of February 8th, 2002, in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, the body of popular local bartender Jamie Stickle was discovered in a burning Jeep. The Pittsburgh Police Department labeled her death suspicious, but the Allegheny County Coroner's Office found her manner of death to be undetermined, and for 22 years, that's how the case has remained, left as undetermined. My name is Jamie Stickle, and a short time after the other Jamie lost her life in that fire, I found out about her story. So now, my team and I are investigating and retelling Jamie's story in the hope we can find some answers. We are speaking to her family, her friends, her co-workers, the police, the coroner, and anyone who can help us know better who Jamie Stickle was before she came to her untimely and tragic end, and to get to the root of what may have happened to her that fateful night. This is The Girl with the Same Name.
Oh, okay.
You heard that clip from Andrea Maynard at the end of the last episode. If you are just joining the podcast now, we recommend going back and starting from episode 1. Things will make a lot more sense that way.
I mean, everyone's innocent and proven guilty, but it was a bit of a love triangle going on there, and everyone, I think, was afraid of me, and I was just so upset, and I marched up to her bar, and I pretty much called her out.
This was after Jamie was killed?
It was like after she was murdered.
Okay.
I knew Sunny had something to do with it,
Okay.
Yeah.
And, I don't know if you heard about that, but I was the one who actually went at her bar and confronted her.
We didn't hear about it.
No, we have not heard this. So,
how did she respond?
Oh my God, she was just like, Andrew, I can't believe you would even think that. I'm like, I'm not sure everyone thinks that. I mean, and she was just like, she went over the top. It was an act. She was just like, I could never ever hurt her or have her hurt. And, I love Jamie, which is a lot of when she did it. She was very jealous of Jamie. She kept me there for probably an hour and a half.
mm-hmm.
Really?
Just trying to convince me, and to spread the word that she didn't have anything to do with it. I mean, it was uncomfortable, and like my friends were like worried about me. Like, you don't want to mess with Sunny, you know what I mean?
Did you feel concerned for your safety when you were confronting her?
Not at the time, because I was pretty inebriated. But,
okay.
all my friends were like trying to stop me from going up there, but I was just determined because I was not going to let it fly. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I just knew that she did it.
Andrea wasn't alone. We've heard from a number of people, many of whom did not want to go on the record, who were certain that Sunny Varasso, who also goes by Sunny Varasso, had committed or commissioned Jamie Stickle's murder. Sunny Varasso is owner of the popular after-hours club, the House of Tilden, and the owner of the building 941 Liberty Avenue, where the Tilden and the Liberty Avenue Saloon were both located in 2002. We asked people what motive Sunny might have had to have Jamie killed.
I had the impression that Sunny kind of stole little Jamie away.
That's Melanie, who we heard from in the last episode. And the Jamie she is referring to is Jamie Stickle's ex-girlfriend, Jamie Cervone, also known as Little Jamie. We've heard differing accounts about the duration of Jamie Stickle's relationship with Jamie Cervone, anywhere from a year to 5 years, depending on who we talk to. But a few things were clear. They dated for a significant amount of time, and at some point, Little Jamie moved into Jamie Stickle's apartment above the George Warhola scrapyard. What is also clear is that Jamie Cervone moved out of that apartment, though we have heard different accounts of whether it was a week before Jamie Stickle's death or the day before, or somewhere in between. We've reached out to Jamie Cervone, but so far she has declined to speak with us directly. So one story is that Jamie and Jamie were dating, living together, and were very happy, and then Sunny came along and somehow stole little Jamie away. Are you aware of Jamie's relationship with little Jamie or Jamie Cervone? Were you friends with Jamie Cervone as well?
Yes.
That's Eileen Halloran.
Yeah, so I'm aware of their relationship, and it was like oftentimes on again, off again, or a little bit toxic, if you will, at times. And that goes with the whole community often, unfortunately. Yeah, little Jamie was always very sweet, and I'm also aware of the rumors surrounding their relationship and how she ended up meeting up and getting together with Sunny, who owned the After Hours Club, and how the rumors spread about that. A lot of folks thought that Sunny was responsible for Jamie's demise as well.
See, that's what I don't get. If Jamie and Jamie were dating and then Sunny broke them up and stole little Jamie away, what reason does Sunny have to come after Jamie Stickle?
Right. Well, there's a couple reasons that I think could be made. One, the bond between her and little Jamie, Sunny and little Jamie, wasn't strong enough yet. And so maybe there was some fear that she would lose her back to Jamie Stickle. Which brings up the idea, was her infatuation with little Jamie so, what's the word? Fatal? Like what kind of
I don't know.
unrequited love had she been enduring at this point, if it was that devastating an idea that she would go back to Jamie Stickle?
Yeah, and it's like, is it okay? So the idea then is that it's fear that Jamie Stickle.
I don't know if that's the idea, but we can run with that as one of the possibilities.
Yeah,
I'm certainly not disregarding anybody's feelings about it or making light. I am just simply answering a question of why.
Right. No, I understand, and I. It's just such a like an overkill to kill somebody.
Unless you were the one that was stolen from.
Sure, absolutely. If it like, I understand revenge, I understand anger, but those were like, that's what Jamie Stickle would have been feeling.
Right, exactly. It was her anger or her need for some sort of closure, or
she's the slighted lover.
That's the what I'm trying to say. Yeah. So it doesn't, we weren't there, and so piecing together from these conversations is all we can do. What else? Several months into our investigation, we heard back from one of Jamie's former colleagues, Jim Belchick.
Hello. Good. How are you? Hi. No, you're absolutely fine. Hi.
We met with Jim at his home when we traveled to Pittsburgh.
Most of our bars were centralized along Liberty Avenue in downtown Pittsburgh. So most of us, even when we got out of work after bartending at 2:30 or 3 o'clock in the morning, we were all still together, and we were all still hanging out. And oftentimes we would just duck into each other's bars and hang out there with our friends. That particular night, I was a bartender at a bar called Tilden. I don't remember what time it was, but that particular night I was there with the owner of Tilden, Sunny, and one of our other friends who I actually tried to reach out to. I haven't been able to find him, Rico.
That's Enrico Patterson. We tried to find Rico, but found out that he had passed away in 2020.
But we were together that night, hanging out at the bar. And I did see Jamie that night. I think she was, can't remember if she was bartending. The bar was called Sidekicks back then. I'm surprised I remember that. But I remember she'd been out drinking. She was trying to get in to the Tilden, and she was down banging on the door, and my friend Sunny had, sent her away. You're drunk, go, get out of here. And that's sort of right before this happened, and the one thing that's kind of sat with me for all these years is if we would have just opened the door. If we would have just opened the door. The story would be a little different, probably, maybe. Sorry.
That's okay.
I really haven't thought about this much.
So we visited the Tilden last night, and now there's no bar downstairs. The Tilden is the whole building now, again, as far as we can tell. And that main entrance off of Liberty Avenue, so there's an outer glass door, the main entrance. Then inside the vestibule, there are two more doors. The one on the left goes to the Liberty Avenue Saloon, or where it used to be. And the second on the right presumably leads to a staircase up to the Tilden. So when you say she was knocking on the door...
So you would go through the front glass door. Back then it was called the Liberty Avenue Saloon downstairs. The Tilden was upstairs. There was a separate door, steel door, to get upstairs to the Tilden. And I honestly, I don't know how she even got into the saloon. So I'm assuming maybe we were there before the saloon had closed and she was banging on the door, but I feel like it was much, much later than that.
Was she alone?
We didn't go down to the door to see her. I suspect she was alone. I had no reason to believe that she was there with anybody.
And you said that Sunny went down and talked to her?
No, Sunny didn't even walk down the steps.
Oh.
She screamed from the top of the steps, "You're drunk, go home, we'll talk later, sleep it off." And that was sort of the end of it. We talked about the drama a little bit, but back then it was, like I said, a small community, and there was always drama amongst one of our groups.
Okay, so something isn't quite adding up here. If you remember our conversation with Tony Rubino from our first episode, he had a different account of how things went. Remember, Jamie Stickle and Tony had been drinking downstairs in his bar, the Liberty Avenue Saloon, which is directly below the Tilden. According to Tony, after a drink, he and Jamie went upstairs together to the Tilden.
And we get to the top of the staircase, and there's two good guys at the door. Says, "Jamie, you know you're not allowed in here."
Again, it's hard to understand what Tony's saying, so here's Jason reading the transcript.
We made it to the top of the staircase, and there's two guys at the door. Says, "Jamie, you know you're not allowed in here." And she stands there with a disappointed look on her face. And I said, "Okay, well," and we started walking back down the stairs. And then she goes, No, Tony, go in. And I said, "No, we'll just go somewhere else." And she goes, "No, I'm just going to go home."
We were definitely puzzled by these seemingly contrasting recounts of the night. We wondered if someone was misremembering or even intentionally misleading us. Thankfully, there was another witness who could shed some light on the evening's events and fill in some of the gaps in the timeline. At this time, our source has chosen to remain anonymous, so the following excerpt from our interview has been re-recorded by a voice actor.
I think the best way for me to start is not, what she was doing before, but I think after she came into Liberty Avenue Saloon, she was, I think we all were drinking a lot that night. So I think, she was dating Sunny.
You heard that right. According to our source, Jamie Stickle was dating Sunny Varasso.
They were fighting as always. And, it was always out of control with them. They were always fighting. They were always, arguing about something. Took from what I have witnessed, I'm not speaking for everybody, but Sunny's a very aggressive person. She was out of control. She was very intimidating. Let's put it that way. The way she carried herself, the way she spoke with anybody, she was just a very intimidating person. So, that's just how it was. And that's how it was that night. They got into a fight.
At this point, Sunny and Jamie were both kicked out of the Liberty Avenue Saloon. We understand that the saloon kept a logbook where such incidents would have been recorded, and that said log may have been turned over to the Pittsburgh PD in the course of their investigation. Okay, back to the interview.
And then I know that, Jamie tried to go upstairs to the Tilden, and that's where Sunny went, and Sunny wouldn't let Jamie in, obviously, because they got into a fight. Jamie left. I know that she had met up with Tony. I know that they definitely came back into the saloon, but they had left together again. So after that, I don't know what happened to them, but, the whole, alibi of Sunny being at her mom's house, it's crazy because she was upstairs at the bar.
And did you ever see her and Sunny fighting at any other times? Or was this a unique situation?
They're always fighting. Whether you've seen Jamie, storming down the steps from the Tilden, storming out the doors, or, fighting in the hall.
She's referring to the vestibule shared by both the Liberty Avenue Saloon and the Tilden.
In that little area, they're always arguing in there.
So at this point, how long had Jamie Stickle and Sunny been broken up?
I would say maybe a month and a half, 2 months. I wouldn't say anything longer than that.
Okay, now we have 3 witness accounts. Let's lay these 3 stories on top of each other and see if we can get a cohesive timeline of the night's events. I'll go slow. At some point in the evening, Jamie Stickle and her ex-girlfriend, Sunny Varasso, were having drinks at the Liberty Avenue Saloon. They got into a fight and were ejected from the saloon. Sunny went upstairs to her own club, the Tilden. We don't know exactly what time that was, but if it was early enough in the evening, the Tilden may not yet have been open, or it may have just been very quiet because the regular bars were still open and serving. So Jim Belchick, Rico, and Sunny could have been sitting around and talking, and the club may very well have been empty. Then Jamie Stickle tried to follow Sunny upstairs. Again, if the Tilden was not yet open, that would explain why the downstairs metal door in the vestibule would have been locked, and why Jamie would have been angrily banging on the door. That also explains why Sunny would have yelled down from the top of the stairs that Jamie was drunk and should go home, and that they would talk tomorrow. So then, Jamie is left in the vestibule, and that's when Tony Rubino sees her and calls her back into the saloon. As the bar owner, he would have been able to do that, despite her having already been kicked out. They had some more to drink, and then, according to Tony, they went upstairs to the Tilden. During that time they were drinking, it seems the Tilden must have opened for business, and the downstairs door was opened, allowing Tony and Jamie to walk up, per Tony's memory. The doorman who stopped them at the top of the stairs may have been present earlier when Sunny had yelled down, or perhaps she had left instructions. Either way, they knew that Jamie Stickle was persona non grata in the Tilden that night and sent her away. So now that we have this cobbled together bird's eye view of the night, let's go back to our conversation with Jim Belchick.
Like I said, it was just the three of us that night, just sort of hanging out, which was perfectly normal.
This was you, Rico, and Sunny. Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, perfectly normal. We were all very close.
Mm-hmm.
And we would just kind of sit around and talk and hang out, and nothing seemed out of the ordinary, with the exception of the on the door. And it wasn't knock, knock, hey, let me in. It was bang, 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 screaming and yelling. It was probably, I could describe it as hysterics.
Wow, okay.
Of obviously a person that was drunk and upset.
Were you able to make out anything she was saying or screaming?
No. It was let me in, let me in, let me in, as far as I remember. You know, I knew there'd been some beef between the two of them. But again, it was nothing that's any different than any beef that I would have had with any of my other friends or anybody else would have with any of their friends. It all seemed very normal.
Did she sound angry or scared?
Angry. Very angry. Agitated.
Yeah.
Ready to fight.
Do you know any of the details about that beef?
If I remember correctly, there was a breakup. She and her partner, I believe her name was also Jamie, were in the middle of a breakup. And Jamie and Sunny were friends. And I don't know if there was a romantic relationship behind that. I don't believe there was. But, I mean, they were friends. And the other Jamie...
Stickle?
Not Stickle.
Oh.
Her ex-partner was not around that night that I remember. She wasn't with us. We were together for a couple hours, I'd say. She wasn't around.
Can I ask you a direct question about Sunny? You said you were there at the Tilden with her for several hours. Do you have her alibi? Like, she couldn't have done it. I was with her at that time.
She couldn't have done it. I was with her at that time. Me and our friend Rico. We were sitting in a booth. We were just talking all night, about, whatever. We were together. There is no conceivable way that she could have done this. We were together. I don't remember like I said, I don't remember the times. But we were together. It was late.
Till closing?
I believe the bars were already closed at this point.
So it would seem that Sunny Varasso has an airtight alibi in Jim Belchick. And if you were wondering about our anonymous source's reference to Sunny having a different alibi, that she was at her parents' house, it's possible that some wires might have gotten crossed. You see, news reports at the time mentioned that Jamie Stickle's ex-girlfriend had an alibi. They didn't name the ex-girlfriend, so our source, who was aware of Jamie Stickle's and Sunny Varasso's relationship, might have read such an article and assumed it was referring to Sunny and not Jamie Cervone. Maybe. We can't be sure. Were you ever questioned by the police?
No, I was not.
Did you ever speak to the police?
No, I did not.
Are you aware of anyone else being questioned by the police?
No.
Did they ever come to any of the bars that you're aware of?
Nope.
So even if Sunny had conflicting alibis, they wouldn't necessarily have been brought to light because Jim was never questioned. That's really weird, isn't it? Even if Jamie's death isn't ruled a homicide, it was still a suspicious death, and now we've got this person, an ex-lover, who was seen fighting with Jamie in public the night she died. Not to mention, she's the person that lots of people in the community are suggesting is responsible for Jamie's murder.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And then here's this guy who can attest to her whereabouts at the time of Jamie's death, and the police never talked to him?
What does that mean?
I don't know. I mean, I have to believe the police would have wanted alibis for both of Jamie's exes, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So, okay. So if Jamie Cervone was at her parents' and the police never talked to Jim Belchick, does that mean that they never sought an alibi for Sunny Varasso?
Well, they could have talked to Rico, maybe, but wouldn't Rico have mentioned that Jim was also there?
Yeah. Yeah. In this kind of investigation, they'd want to take statements from everyone.
Well, either way, even if Jim can account for her whereabouts at the time of Jamie's death, that doesn't preclude the possibility that she had someone else commit this crime for her. I mean, she could have set up that alibi.
Yeah, possibly. But it still really doesn't make sense. I mean, okay, if I'm Sunny Varasso and it's Thursday night and I've hired somebody to kill my ex later tonight, the last thing I'm going to do is spend time drinking with her at the bar downstairs. And then get in a fight in public where we both get thrown out. Like...
Right, and there's a ledger of you being thrown out, which the police would likely take into evidence.
Yeah, and she's a bar owner. She knows that.
Right.
Yeah.
So if staging an alibi is a good plan, then everything that happened before it completely undermines that plan and just draws attention to yourself or to Sunny.
Yeah. Yeah, that's crazy. Like, if they're in a love triangle and Sunny gets the girl, why would Sunny... Like, she doesn't have any reason to be jealous or get revenge. The love triangle thing doesn't add up.
No.
As a motive.
No.
And you make a really good point. If Sunny went to the trouble of planning this out and hiring killers and bringing them in from out of town, which means like more than a day's notice, I would think, how's she going to fuck that up? How's she going to fuck that up and have a fight with the person she knows is going to get killed hours before it happens?
Yeah.
It's amazing to me that the police have not zeroed in on her more.
Well, we don't know. We don't have the case file. We're still appealing our right to know.
Yeah, but like we do know that they didn't even talk to her alibi.
We know they didn't even talk to the last person that saw her.
Yeah. Yeah.
The very last person on record that the newspapers have quoted, the person who saw Jamie drive away and spoke with her, was never questioned by the police. It's been a challenge to examine the Pittsburgh PD's investigation of Jamie Stickle's death. We've spoken to several members of that police force, and they have all been adamant about the efforts that were put in by Joe Myers and by the department at large. But without case files or anyone from the police department willing to talk to us on the record, all we can do is examine the facts relayed by the civilians who have spoken to us. And what we've heard is that people who seem to have vital information about Jamie Stickle's last night on Earth were not interviewed by the police. We will talk to some of those people and examine the procedures that were followed, or not followed, next time on The Girl with the Same Name. We will be back with a new episode in 3 weeks, but check your feed next week for a special minisode featuring a message from Jamie's sister, Julie. If you enjoy The Girl with the Same Name, please take a moment right now to subscribe to the podcast and leave us a review. It would really help us out. You can follow the show on Instagram, Threads, and Facebook at The Girl with the Same Name. And you can sign up for the mailing list on our website, thegirlwiththeSameName.com. This is an ongoing investigation. If you have any information about Jamie Stickle's life or death, we want to hear from you. Please call our tip line at 412-822-6123 or send us an email to thegirlwiththeSameName@gmail.com. or you can call the Pittsburgh Police Tip Line at 412-323-7800. If you have photos, video, or audio recordings of Jamie, you can send them to us or share them on social media and tag the show at The Girl with the Same Name. The Girl with the Same Name is a production of Make That Paper Productions. I am your host, Jamie Stickle. This episode was researched, written, and produced by myself and Jason Bieber, and our assistant producer is Madison Westenheiser. The show was edited and sound designed by Jason Bieber. Thank you to our voice actor, Celeste Paykosh. Chloe Naffey and Morgan Monfredo were our interns. The original theme song was composed and recorded by Brian Hendricks. Additional music and sound effects are from freesounds.com or were generated using Songburst AI. We would like to thank the following people who generously contributed their time and expertise. Our legal counsel is Amanda Moghadam. We received private investigation assistance from Lori Rokenbeck. Our law enforcement advisor is Sergeant Brandon Roy. And Superfan Promotions did our publicity. We'd like to send an enormous thank you to all our Kickstarter supporters. Without your contributions and belief in our work, we would not have been able to tell Jamie's story. Thank you. And special thanks go out to Parvesh China, Brian Assman, George Leon, Daniel Alexander, Jim Shepard, Grant Wood, Stephen Skoblick, and April Cass.